Tonight, the $5 billion fund designed to help drought-stricken farmers for years to come.
The search for the driver of a truck which hit a 2-year-old boy on the Central Coast.
A police officer accused of child sex offences spanning more than a decade.
And how the Rabbitohs managed to get Wayne Bennett to Redfern.
This is NBN News with Paul Lobb and Natasha Beyersdorf.
Good evening. The Morrison government today took action to try to limit the impact of drought in the future.
The Prime Minister told a national summit he'll establish a multi-billion-dollar fund to help farmers and regions become more resilient.
Old Parliament House and a small army of political leaders, farmers and scientists confront an historic problem and future-proof the nation against the ravages of drought. Lane Kelkart, NBN News.
A toddler is in John Hunter Hospital tonight after he was knocked down by a truck just metres from his Central Coast home. The driver didn't stop and is yet to come forward. Police say he may not have been aware that he hit the 2-year-old.
One split-second mistake with a catastrophic result. Paramedics scramble to stabilise a 2-year-old boy with head injuries. He's airlifted to hospital and placed in an induced coma. Gabrielle Boyle, NBN News.
A senior police officer who worked in schools teaching children about safety is tonight behind bars. The 43-year-old stationed in Sydney has been charged with multiple child sex offences dating back to 2007.
For years, Senior Constable Dean Perkins has been a friendly face in our schools, lecturing children about the dangers of cyberbullying and how to protect themselves from sexual predators.
Central Coast Police have issued a stern warning to unregistered gun owners and could face charges following a second firearms amnesty. It comes as more than 100 weapons await destruction across both police districts.
Dangerous weapons kept off the Central Coast streets. These guns part of the terrifying arsenal of 80 handed in to Tuggerah Lakes Police between July and September. Sarah Giuliano, NBN News.
The NRMA is set to own one of the Central Coast's ferry operators. The company has acquired Fantasy Cruises, which runs the Palm Beach ferry. The Peninsula Chamber of Commerce has welcomed the move, saying it demonstrates confidence in the strength of the local economy, while providing another voice in future negotiations over dredging and maintaining the Ettalong Channel. It comes after Fantasy Cruises suspended services between Palm Beach, Ettalong and Wagstaff in May due to concerns about navigating the choked-up channel.
Some good news tonight for Newcastle's Surffest Surf School after tens of thousands of dollars worth of equipment was taken from Nobby's Beach. The trailer has been found and a man is being questioned over the theft, which left students a bit high and dry this morning.
A surfing lesson that was missing the most important part. The surf school had to switch up its program this morning. With its boards stolen, the focus turned to safety in the water. Samantha Long, NBN News.
This time tomorrow, Tamworth's Scully Park will be packed with thousands of partygoers showing their support for our farming community. Set-up is nearly complete for the Haymate Buy a Bale concert and performers are raring to go.
A green tinge to the landscape may give a false sense that the drought is nearly over. While it's certainly a step in the right direction, it's hoped more can come out of tomorrow night's Haymate Buy a Bale concert, all funds raised going to rural aid. Tickets are still available. You can catch the concert on 9 straight after NBN News tomorrow night. Amelia Bernasconi, NBN News.
The latest equipment designed to empower and enable people with a disability has gone on display in Newcastle. Breakthroughs in technology and day-to-day services are at the centre of the Hunter Disability Expo, being held at the Newcastle Jockey Club. There are also travel, diet and exercise tips, along with new virtual reality experiences and interactive games. The event continues tomorrow.
Still to come. More people targeted in America's mail bomb terror.
Actor Robert De Niro and former US Vice President Joe Biden are the latest high-profile targets in the pipe bomb scare gripping America. Police fear there could be more to come as they hunt coast to coast for the suspect.
A bomb detection robot in Delaware, firefighters in New York, and a manhunt now stretching nationwide.
A former GP who murdered his wife in Sydney has had an appeal against his sentence dismissed. Brian Cricket is serving at least 20 years behind bars for giving his partner Christine a fatal dose of insulin on New Year's Eve in 2010. His current wife was in the Supreme Court to support him today.
A 14-year-old boy has been charged after he allegedly jabbed 8 students with a dirty needle in an apparent prank gone wrong. The teenager found the discarded hypodermic needle at a bus stop on his way to Sydney's PLUMPTON High School. He's facing 5 charges of assault. The jabbed students are awaiting the results of blood tests.
Also on the market today, AGL Energy lost ground. Its share price ended down 1.5%. The big lenders were up, with the Commonwealth adding 54 cents. To commodities, and both gold and oil are trading higher. While the Australian dollar is down against the majors, it's buying close to 62 euro cents and 55 British pence.
The Duke and Duchess of Sussex are back in Australia tonight after their whirlwind tour of Fiji and Tonga. They'll stay in Sydney over the weekend to close the Invictus Games, but no doubt have fond memories of their time in the South Pacific.
It's hard to upstage the Duke and Duchess, but at the oldest secondary school in the South Pacific, their Royal Highnesses met their match. Jane Azzopardi, NBN News.
And this Sunday, join us for a special look at Harry and Meghan's first visit to Australia. That's the Modern Royals Tour Down Under, straight after 60 Minutes. Gavin Morris joins us now for a quick look at the weather. And Gav, there'll be a hot start to the weekend.
Yes, that's right. Feeling a little tropical locally, that's for sure. The humidity getting pumped in by this latest southerly today. It was an interesting one. It was almost a warm southerly tracking up the coast and headed towards southern Queensland, delivering a little bit of relief there after what was an incredibly hot day. Now, the heat is going to linger over the Moree Plains over most of the weekend. Another southerly coming through on Sunday. So tomorrow, overall, it is going to be calm, very, very warm, comfortable on the coast, but inland a scorcher again. All of your local weekend weather details headed your way real soon.
Thank you, Gav. Ahead in the news. The moment a thief targeted an elderly couple's jewellery store.
And hero or pest, the French Spider-Man scales new heights across the channel.
Is your family addicted to junk food? Why our bodies are programmed to crave it, and the simple steps to help you and your kids kick the habit. And the thrills. The spill.
The elderly owner of a jewellery store in Melbourne has been pushed to the ground by a thief who smashed through cabinets, then fled. The man stole more than $100,000 worth of diamond rings and bracelets.
A crash involving a Ferrari and a Toyota four-wheel drive has left 3 people in hospital. The vehicles collided in Brisbane's southeast, sending the Ferrari rolling. 6 lanes were closed as the scene was cleared. Police are investigating whether speed was a factor. Both cars have been written off, with the Italian sports car worth an estimated $500,000.
21 years ago today, teenager Jessica Small was abducted as she tried to hitchhike home after a night out in Bathurst. Now there are a million more reasons for someone to come forward and help catch her killer.
Just 15 years old when she was taken, Jessica Small had a whole life ahead of her.
Life has been empty without Jess, never knowing, never watching her graduate from school or...
Clinging to the edge of a skyscraper, the so-called French Spider-Man has brought the heart of London to a standstill.
The long-time daredevil, who's also a grandfather, scaled one of the city's tallest buildings using only his hands.
Spider-Man or Madman? Alain Robert, the 56-year-old Frenchman who just loves climbing things without safety ropes.
Over to sport now with Kate Haberfield.
And Kate, Souths have spoken about landing Wayne Bennett.
They have, and they're pretty pleased. Thanks, team. Coming up after the break. The inside story of how Bennett was lured to the Bunnies, and will Darius Boyd go with him? And Des Hasler goes back to work at Manly. The Rabbitohs are fully prepared for the possibility of Anthony Seibold continuing as coach at Redfern next season, despite their signing of Wayne Bennett. South's football boss Shane Richardson today revealed how a phone call in Fiji began a chain of events which led to Bennett committing to the club from 2020 onwards.
It was the deal that had to be done. Wayne Bennett in, Anthony Seibold out. South's a too proud a club to be dictated to by a rookie coach.
The West Tigers are expected to announce Michael Maguire as their coach tomorrow, which will clear the way for Ivan Cleary to head to Penrith to coach his son Nathan. Meanwhile, Sea Eagles stars remain torn despite Des Hasler's signing on for the next 3 years. The players are excited to work with the premiership winner, but are disappointed about Trent Barrett's imminent departure.
Des Hasler back to work on the northern beaches. The new coach getting reacquainted with the Sea Eagles, rubbing shoulders with players past and present.
Coming up, a change likely for the Jets ahead of tonight's A-League clash. Also ahead, the Mariners try to stay focused as the Usain Bolt saga drags on. And thrills, spills and a swan ahead of the Australian Grand Prix. Italy's Andrea Iannone has set the fastest time in practice at the Australian Grand Prix at Phillip Island. A wet start to the day turned to sunshine, but that didn't stop new world champion Marc Marquez ending up in the gravel. Maverick Vinales set the quickest time in the first session, with Australia's Jack Miller just behind. Mike Mulvey is excited about his first home game at the helm of the Mariners. The former premiership-winning coach is looking to build on the gritty defensive performance that saw his side share the points in the opening round.
Mike Mulvey concedes that his side gave Brisbane too many chances last Sunday, but there was a lot to like about a point away from home. Steve Allen, NBN News.
Some of the biggest names in Central Coast surfing have taken out the Coke Memorial, including Ace Buchan and Matt Wilkinson. Tomorrow, another name will be added to the prestigious list, and it's all for a great cause, with the proceeds going to the Arrow Foundation.
It's absolutely incredible that Wayne King has kept the flame burning for Dave Wards for close to 3 decades.
That's the day in sport, guys.
Thank you, Kate.
Thanks, Kate. Gav has the weather for us next.
Time to check the weekend weather now with Gav.
Thank you, Tash. A southerly, a warm southerly and mostly sunny on the coast. Quite extraordinary. It was a blustery one offshore, that's for sure. Let's take a look at this evening's weather photo. The locals, well, they've been there all winter long, but now the beach season is here and here they come. The locals losing their local quiet beach. The past 24 hours, we've seen storms again over the New South Wales-Queensland border. Very little rain over the majority of the state. It was mostly sunny today. Look at the southerly. No, you can't see it. It's not actually there. It tried to produce a little bit of cloud. It's connected to that, but the winds there pushing into Queensland tonight, but producing virtually no cloud, just pumping in that humidity. Nice to see the rain come down across the desert areas, and that's going to be welcome over central Australia that is scorching hot at the moment. Another southerly on its way. That'll be coming through overnight Saturday into Sunday. Sunday's going to be much cooler, and we may see an actual shower from that southerly. But otherwise, looks like your Saturday is going to be fairly fine right around the nation. For Sydney, it's going to be warm. A little bit cooler for Brisbane with the southerly arriving there tonight. Storms in the centre, hot and humid in the north, quite warm across southern Australia on the final spring weekend of 2018. 29 for the upper Hunter, and along the coast, the southerly there capped off temperatures into the low 20s. Humidity count is up. Very dry inland though, so it's not travelling that far throughout throughout the Upper Hunter. So that means it's going to be very warm again. You can see the westerly winds converging with the sea breezes switching right around to an afternoon nor'easter. Tomorrow it is going to be fine. It's going to be dry. The cloud cover about a little bit misty, I'd say, in the morning. Could see some morning fog patches as well, with so much moisture getting pumped in from these onshore winds. Temperature-wise, up to the mid-20s, I'd say, for most suburban areas easily tomorrow. Mid to high 20s. A little further inland, it is going to warm up. We're looking at the high 20s there easily, right throughout the western side of the lake, Wallsend, and then jumping into the lower Hunter, into the high 20s, and then we'll see the low 30s reached right throughout the Upper Hunter. So it's a warm Saturday. It's going to feel slightly warmer because of that humidity, particularly throughout the eastern coastal suburban areas. It's all about the seas, and no swell today. We lose the seas because the wind dies off and there's not much left over swell. It's still going to be quite small. It'll be gobbled up by the high tide at about 10 to 11 tomorrow morning. It's a fairly big tide as well after the full moon at 1.84 of a metre. Sun will be up just before 6 and down at 7:15. The moon's up a little bit later. The next southerly comes through on Sunday. A few more showers and then it's going to be hot again. The hot pool of air over central Australia is going to dominate our weather. So very hot and dry for the Upper Hunter, and evaporation rates are going to really go up as well as we move towards the middle of next week. For the Central Coast, also cooler, affected by that change on Sunday. Not much in it rain-wise, if anything at all yet again, but getting hot next week. Surfers, well, as I said, it's all about the seas and not much swell. Kite surfers were out today, but in those southern protected corners like Nobbies, not much getting in at all. So it's still going to be quite small tomorrow, and as I said, try and get in before that high tide just gobbles up what is there. The winds are going to be calmer and then the sea breezes will draw in. So maybe in those northern corners, the rock shelves, those open wave magnet areas that'll be protected from the afternoon sea breeze will be the pick in the afternoon. New swell on Sunday.
Thank you, Gav, and that's our bulletin on this Friday.
We will have updates throughout the evening, and you can catch the latest headlines on Weekend Today from 7 a.m.
From all of us here, have a great weekend.
Good night.
Good night.